What's up, y'all? Today we talking about becoming a husband for your future wife. I know, man, this gonna be a good one. This gonna be a banger, right? So this one right here is really dear to me. This video is really dear to me because just me getting closer to God has changed me, y'all. Like, really has changed me. Before, when I wasn't that close to God, I had the mindset of, matter of fact, I wasn't even thinking about marrying anyone, and it was in my mind, but it wasn't close to my mind. Like, it was in the back of my mind, right? And I always used to say, if I ever marry any woman, she gonna have to wait for 10 years. I used to say she gonna have to wait for 10 years, y'all. Literally, like, God is my witness. My friends that know me in the past, they know I said the same thing, right? She gonna have to wait for 10 years. But it's funny, when I got into a relationship with God, y'all, it's like God changed my mind. I was like, wow, like, okay, God, if I got a woman that follows you, she ain't gotta wait. You know why I said that? Because as I was growing closer to God, all my past ways were changing. The selfishness was going away. The pridefulness was going away. The hurt was going away. I was able to forgive people now, y'all. I was able to be kind, more kind to people, yo. Y'all, I was able to consider people more, y'all. My conviction was stronger, y'all. I didn't want to hurt people at all. Like, everything about me started to change, y'all. I stopped having sex. I didn't even, like, that even started to look dirty towards me. Like, having sex before marriage, it was like, I felt dirty. You know what I'm saying? And I hated that everything that I used to be attracted to and I used to do started to change. And you know what I learned? God was teaching me to be a husband before I'm a husband, because a relationship with God teaches you to be a man of God. A man like God. The Bible says that the Son does what the Father does. Jesus does what the Father does. And when we follow Jesus, we become like him. The Bible tells you to imitate Jesus. So the more I become like Jesus from following Jesus, guess what? I am more of a husband. So I learned that my relationship with God, God changing me, taking the trauma out, teaching me how to be kind, teaching me how to communicate with people, teaching me how to love people, was making me into a husband, making me into a good father, making me into a good friend, making me into this good person or a godly person, right? So today I wanted to make a video about becoming a husband for your future wife. All right, so fellas, I want to ask y'all some questions, man, because I want y'all to understand that God does things mysteriously in a lot of ways, y'all. Because I didn't know this before I got close to him. My whole mind changed. How I think changed. And guess what? I know he does this for all of us, y'all. So fellas, are y'all becoming husbands? Because y'all want wives, just like I want a wife. Y'all want wives, just like I want a wife. So are you becoming a husband? Like right now, what are you doing to become a husband as you wait for your future spouse in this single season, y'all? What are you doing right now? Are you building your relationship with God? Are you becoming more of a man of God? Are you working on your trauma? Are you learning yourself? Are you learning who you are? Are you learning your weaknesses and your strengths? Are you learning what your needs are so that you can actually communicate that to your future wife? Do you know what a husband actually embodies? Are you abstaining from sex right now? Do you know how to communicate? Do you know how to think of others? Are you selfless? Are you kind? Do you know how to sacrifice yourself, my man? Do you know how to love? Have you started to learn how to love? Because these are all the things that happens when you're in a relationship with God. These are all the things that God needs us as men to be so that we can become husbands. You understand? Now, some people think, well, you're not in a relationship yet. You don't. Well, guess what? With God, when you get into a relationship with God, you actually start to become these things when you are single. So if you're a single person, you actually start to have a husband mindset. You basically start to become a husband before you're a husband. You actually end up acting like you're in a relationship while you're single. I always tell people, when you're single, you're not by yourself. When you're single, you're not single. You're actually still in a relationship if you're in a relationship with God. So if you're walking around like, well, I can do whatever I want to do, that's a no-no. You can't do you can't do whatever you want to do. You're in a relationship with God. You have to put him first. And putting God first teaches me how to put others before me. As the scripture says, put others before yourselves. It teaches me how to love others. Me and my relationship with God teaches me how to be a man of God, a true husband of God, a person who loves others, thinks of others, sacrifices, because this is what Jesus does for us. This is what a husband is supposed to do for his wife. Do you know how to lead? Well, guess who the number one leader is? God. So he teaches us how to be leaders while we're in a relationship with him. And not only that, do you know your gifts, right? Do you know how to pray? Do you know how to talk to God? Do you know how to put and choose God first? You understand? Do you know your purpose in life? Do you know how to lead others? This is what God teaches us when we're in a relationship with him, y'all. So if we want to become husbands, right? Because I know the Christian men, they like, oh, I'm looking for a wife, yo. I want a wife. I want a wife. I want a wife. I want a wife. But do you know how to be a husband, bro? Do you just go to church? Do you just read your Bible, but you don't show up for others? But you don't sacrifice yourself? But you don't know how to be kind to others? But you don't know how to love others? Do you know your love language so that you can communicate that to her? Do you know how to realize what someone else needs? Or do you know how to figure out how you feel all day? You get what I'm saying? Is it just about me, 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 me? Or is my mindset thinking the same way Jesus's mindset think? How does Jesus think? Jesus thinks, what can I do for you? How can I give to you? What can I provide for you? How can I be there for you? He thinks others, right? And I know we're in the world, right? And we still struggle in sin because of this world, y'all. But at the same time, we have the Spirit in us. The Spirit teaches you Jesus. The Spirit helps you to keep Jesus first. So are you walking and practicing Jesus? Because the reason why I keep bringing up Jesus, y'all, is because God teaches you how to be a husband. Now, I've been through these things. God has showed me all of these things about myself. Like, I had to learn my needs. I had to learn my weaknesses. I had to learn how I communicate to people. I had to learn easy ways of how to learn when somebody's communicating a need to me, even when they're upset. I've had to learn how to communicate, how to lower my voice, how to slow down when I speak rather than sounding away, right? I had to learn that I have to think of others when I'm communicating, how it might cause them to feel, what it can cause them to think, right? I had to think about that my actions affect those that I love, right? So I can't just do whatever I want to do. I had to learn that I have to sacrifice myself. I have to give to others. I have to think about them. I have to realize that they have their own needs, and I also need to ask them what their needs are. What is it that they need from me? How can I accommodate them? What can I do? How can I speak? Where do they need me at? How do I consider them? I had to sacrifice myself, y'all, even when I don't feel good, even when I'm mad at them. I still have to learn how to sacrifice myself. How do I know this? Because Jesus said, forgive them. Jesus said, forgive those, for they know not what they do. Jesus said to love your enemies. So when they feel like my enemy, but I'm supposed to love them, why am I treating them like my enemy? Jesus never did. A husband does that too. Your wife might feel like the opposition later, right? She might feel like your enemy. But Jesus said, love her anyway, right? Of course, fellas, he telling her the same thing, but this is for us. We need to learn to be husbands before we are husbands. If you are abstaining from sex right now, my good brother, you know what that actually helps you do? Because you need to become faithful. You need to be loyal. You need to be a man of integrity. You need to be a man of your word. You need to be able to do what you said you was going to do, right? That's a man of God. That is what a husband embodies. This is what a husband is supposed to embody. This is what a follower of Christ embodies. But when you're abstaining from sex, you know what that does, my good brother? That actually helps you to learn to restrain yourself, right? So when you get into a marriage, guess what? You're faithful. Guess what? You know how to keep your mind off of other women. You know how to not go certain places. You know how not to do certain things, not to listen to certain music, not to listen to certain people, not to watch certain things, not to go around certain people in general, y'all. You know when somebody's trying to do something towards you, or when your friends or family are going places, right? And the temptation that it can cause, not just do, because you keep yourself from falling into something. So just because something is not sin does not mean it cannot cause you to fall into sin. It cannot cause you to slip into sin. That's called temptation. So are you abstaining from sex, my good brother? Because you abstaining from sex right now will protect your marriage later on. You don't want to have a weak moment when you don't feel loved by your woman, right? And you over here talking to a friend, or you go to work, or you speak to a girl, or you see a girl, and maybe you think she look better. Maybe you think she talks better. Maybe you think she's kinder to you. Maybe you think she's more respectful to you. And then you feel away, and now you're tempted to cheat. No, that's not what we do. We stay faithful no matter how we feel. You may be upset. You may not like what she's doing, what your wife doing. But guess what? You're still faithful. And guess what? You learned this before you even got married. That's what it means to become a husband before you are a husband. And during this time, you're learning to be a true friend, y'all. Because this is the thing that's missing in marriages. This is the thing that God actually holds dear to. And I know some people be like, well, friend, what is this friend thing? Oh my God, a friend. You don't got to worry about nobody being a friend. Well, guess what? God has an emphasis on the word friend. God has an emphasis on the condition of a friend. How do I know this? Look in the Bible. Look at Abraham and God. God consistently called Abraham friend, but he didn't call him friend until he was willing to sacrifice his son. But why would God say that? Why would God now say that you're my friend after you was willing to do that for him? You become a true friend before you're in a marriage. And being a friend to God means a lot. That's why he didn't consider Abraham a friend until. So when he considered him a friend, I could see his heart. God can see where Abraham's heart was. So even if Abraham did something that God didn't like, which he did, remember he sinned with Sarah's servant, God still knew that he loved him. God still knew that he would choose him first. God still knew that he can come back to him because he knew where his heart was. When you're somebody's friend, when you become a true friend, like God teaches you to be a friend, then guess what? You become like God. Becoming like God makes you a friend. So now you as a husband know how to be a friend to your wife. You know how to be loyal to your wife. You know how to have fun with your wife. You know how to crack jokes with your wife. You know how not to be offended by your wife. You know how not to be defensive towards your wife. You know how to be kind towards your wife. You know how to hold your tongue towards your wife before you are married, my good brother. Now you don't gotta be all petty. Now you don't gotta be all sarcastic to your wife. Now you don't have to treat your wife any type of way. Even when you get angry, now you can apologize. Why? Because you learned that when you was a friend. Now when she does things to you, you can forgive her. Why? Because you learned how to do that before you was married. And you learned that that's what friends do, right? Jesus has an emphasis on friend. Notice how he called the disciples his friend. Notice how Paul goes to the different churches and calls them friend and calls them brothers and sisters. You understand, there's a foundation with God, and this is how we become marriage minded. This is how we become godly husbands before we're husbands. So right now, y'all, I just wanted to pull this message along. I just wanted to give this message to y'all because I've been learning this, y'all. I've been learning how to be integral, how to keep my word, how to stand on what I stand on, how to think of others, how to apologize, how to forgive, how to be kind, how to be loyal, how to be faithful, how to be a friend, how to be gentle, how to be sacrificial, how to put my emotions to the side for someone else. Even learning how to communicate my emotions in a healthy way, y'all. And also learning how to put my emotions to the side for the person that I say that I love, because that is what Jesus did. That's what we do. So when we're learning to become more like God, we are learning to become husbands. We are learning to become fathers. We are learning to become brothers. We are learning to become friends. We are learning to become better sons. We are learning to become better followers and soldiers of Christ. And don't you want your wife to see that? So I hope this video blessed y'all. I hope y'all learned something. I hope you're over there thinking about, strengthening your relationship with God and becoming more like a husband, and understanding this process in your relationship with God, and to understand that you got to be willing to give your all to this so that you can be ready for your wife when you choose her, so that we can stay together, y'all, and we don't got to worry about divorces. And we'll understand that God is first. That's how we become husbands, man. Putting God first. Going through the fire with God so I know that I can go through the fire with her. All right? I hope this video blessed y'all. I love y'all, and I'm going to get at y'all when I get at y'all.